Hi, BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Lyric Corner. I am Jackie, and this was a video and idea inspired by a new channel that I discovered. That actually the algorithm presenting one of their videos to me. So every so often, I feel like the algorithm does do nice things, or at least they understand. I mean, most of the time it's just they will show things that don't make any sense, or that you wouldn't like. I had watched the humor videos for the Hobbit movies because, as I said, I love them. I actually love the movies, and for some reason, the algorithm presented me with the video that I've seen before. I've never actually watched it, where it said, "Why the Hobbit movies suck." And it's like, why are you showing this to me? Because I'm watching the humor videos, not because I'm making fun of the Hobbit movies, because I love those movies, and they're showing the humor in the movies. So why would I want to watch a video where it points out the bad of the movies? I love the movies, so I don't want to watch videos that talk about how terrible they are and why people don't like them. So sometimes it doesn't make any sense what the algorithm shows you. I mean, I guess they're thinking, you want to see every video that has to do with the Hobbit movies. It's like, well, if that doesn't make any, why would, I mean, that's the thing about computers and the systems and the, on websites and stuff, is that they don't they don't have nuances. They don't go by they just look at if it's something, if it's a video that has to do with something that you like or that you've been watching videos on, it's gonna offer it to you. It's like, well, and so I just sometimes the algorithm is just like, it doesn't make any sense to me, but other times, occasionally, it does send me, channels that I might actually be interested in. And in this case, and I meant to make a mental note of the name of the channel. I think the channel had like the word bear in the name, in the channel name. I meant to look it up to remind myself when I decided to do this. This is kind of a last minute. This was kind of a last minute decision to film this video now, or a series of videos actually. So I don't know if I'll ever do a library tour, but this in a way is kind of a practice round for that. But what I'm gonna do, the channel was, the woman on the booktube channel was talking about, and I think she was inspired by another video actually. But she was talking about the big books on her TBR, and since I decided, instead of just picking the books off my shelf, especially since I just reorganized my shelves again, I figured I just go by each shelf and just go look at all the books on each shelf that are my big books, my 500 plus page books. Like, I didn't originally think about doing part 1 will be like classics, part 2 will be contemporary books, like books written more recently or in the past 10, 20 years. And then I wanted to do a separate part for all my Stephen King books because a lot of his books are big books. And then I was gonna do books from series. That was going to be the last one. I mean, that might not have been the last one, but that was going to be also a part. But I decided I'm just going to go through each shelf individually. Now, I did just realize I might not be able to use my backlight for the next shelf, because the shelf is actually blocking one of the plugs, one of the outlets, not the plugs. The plug is the thing that goes in that, the outlet. The shelf is blocking it, and I don't know if my the backlight that I have, I know it's not called a backlight. I don't remember I can't think what it's called, but the backlight that I have, it doesn't go super far because it's just one of those ones that you can put on a stand or something. It's a small one, it's kind of a small one, so the cord won't stretch that. I don't think the cord will stretch far enough for me to use it. So one of the shelves I will not be able to use the backlight. Whatever I cannot. It's gonna randomly pop in my head as I'm filming, if I can remember. So I'm gonna go through. So this is the first shelf. It's the newest one, so it doesn't have as much on there. So So let's see. First, I have this top shelf, but the way my ceiling is, it's on this side of my room. It's a kind of a hexagonal shape, so it's a bit of a slant. So the only books I could put up here on right up top are my mass markets that I still have. So not all of them are up there. Like I did move my I had the first Mistborn era books in mass market form, and then I moved them over next to the other, on the other shelf were my other Brandon Sandersons. I don't have those on here. But like I said, I'm just gonna do my big books. This is not gonna be full on bookshelf tour. I mean, it could be, I guess, but so let's see. Alright, let's see. Is this one? How big is this one? Okay, so this first one is, it actually goes, technically it goes up to the devil's number, 666 pages, 666 pages. This is the only book from the series that I've read, because at one point I did decide I wasn't going to continue with it because I didn't feel motivated to pick up the sequel. But then I cannot think of his name. There's another booktuber that did a video on the series and hyping it up, and I decided to give it another shot. But this is the Malazan Book of the Fallen series, and if you count the glossary, it's 666 pages. But I don't always count, you know, a lot of times in these books I only count up to the pages that I'm reading. So it's 657 pages. So far, I do remember liking this, and I was, for all intents and purposes, I was going to continue Dead House Gates, which is the second one. But then I just didn't feel motivated to pick it up, so I decided not to continue. Well, this was pretty good. It's kind of a military fantasy. There's a debate if it's grimdark or not between the one who reminded me of the series, which I wish I remember his channel name. I should have made a mental note of that too. I always say I'm going to do that, and then I always forget to. But, what's really interesting about the series is it goes different parts of the world throughout in each book, and then eventually I think they're all going to come together and link together to win a big epic war or something. But I did like it, you know, I mean, it's kind of dense, and I don't read a lot of military fantasy books. And this actually apparently is the worst book in the series for a lot of people. And after it's great, which that's another debate about, like, books in a series. Like, people say that the first book should hook you in, and if the first book is bad, then a lot of people will drop and not even pursue the series. But sometimes I do think there are times when the first book isn't the best, but the rest of the series can be really great. Like, Stephen King admits that The Dark Tower, the Gunslinger, the first book in the Dark Tower series, is not his best, but the rest of the series, a lot of people love it. You know, so I feel like sometimes that rule of if the first book doesn't hook you in, then the rest of the series is not worth it. I don't think that's always true, but I do get that some people, like, they're not going to waste time, they don't want to waste time, like, reading the first book and it being bad, and then just, you know, because, like, they just, you know, they don't want to waste time reading the first book and then not like it, and then, because you don't know for sure if the rest of the series is going to be good or bad, and, you know, in most cases, yeah, the first book is supposed to hook you in. That's the, you know, the book that introduces you to the story and the world. But I did like this one. Okay, so I am glad I ended up not getting rid of the series, because I just realized my bookmark is still in this book. Or, well, maybe, actually, no, I think I might have just put it in there because it's only on the prologue. This is the sequel, Dead House Gates. And and this goes up to, it's in counting the glossary and the acknowledgements. The last page is 843. No, ascendants. So this is part of the glossary. So we have, not counting the glossary stuff, we have this page. This book is about 836 pages. Which I'm getting better at the okay. So glossary is, it's in the 900 pages, but the last page that's with the actual story is 913 pages. Okay, let me just save myself some trouble and just take all these down. Is this the next one? No, this. Where's Memories of Ice? Did I already? Oh, I already showed you Memories of Ice. So is this the next one after Memories of Ice? Oh no, House of Chains, and then Midnight Tides. So we have all of these as well. I'm not going to tell you the page number because I'd be here all day with this. So it looks like the biggest one so far in the series that I'm aware of, I mean, I don't have all the other books, is this one. The Reaper'S Gale is the biggest one of all the books I have so far in the series. So that oh, wow. So yeah, it's in the 1,260. So it's the 1,000 page mark. So this is the biggest one so far that I'm aware of. Is this one bigger? No, Reaper'S Gale looks like it's the biggest one out of the ones I have anyway. I don't know about the rest of them though. Okay, so let me put these in order. So this is book 7. I do appreciate when these books actually have the order number. Okay, so that one, and then this one. Okay, so let's see. Let me check about... Okay, so... Yeah, so this, we have... I feel like mass market books, I gotta admit, they're less intimidating looking because they're small physically. So this is this first book in the Loch Lamora series is in the 700 page mark. This is the first book in Lies of Loch Lamora. I almost wasn't going to continue with the series, but then, I was reminded of it by some of the other booktubers that I watch. Yeah, so I'm easily influenced by booktube. So, and I guess I was reading this when I was eating something with cheese or something, because I got a little bit of a yellow stain, so I'm guessing it's cheese. But this was a fun series, and I like the setting. Like, I don't see a lot of settings that are set in Italy, as far as books go. But I read a lot of European-inspired or European set books. Just not ones in Italy all the time. So there is that one. And then we have... Now, these ones I've read. These first two I have read. So, now there's one shelf I'm not going to show you. Now, I'm not going to show you every single book I've read of my big books. So this is also in the 700 page mark. So because this is 760. Let's see if that's Red Seas Under Red Sky. So that one's, if you like pirates, that might be the, that could be fun. So this is the only one from the series I haven't read yet. This is Republic of Thieves, which is actually apparently shorter. The shortest one so far in the series. This is 690 pages. I think that this is the shortest one in the series, because I think the first one is still in the 700 pages. This one is close to the 700 page mark, but... Now let's see if... Oh! So these two are from the... Let me see if these two are... Oh, nope. Okay, yeah, so these two don't count. They're from the Southern Water series by Juliet Merlier. So these don't count. These are the only ones I have left on my shelf from that series, because the other two I put away in the donation pile, because I don't know if I'll keep the series. But part of me wants to finish. I do kind of want to finish it out. I mean, I might change my mind and not finish it out, but it's still, I like the first two books. So I do want to, at the moment, I'm motivated to finish it out at some point. Oh, I forgot Child of Prophecy. Let me see Child of Prophecy. Probably not. It's probably also... Oh, no, actually, it's 596 pages. Okay, so this is in the tomes. Big books. So this is 596. So yeah, Child of Prophecy. I don't know if the rest of the series was, but these are the ones I haven't read, so let's see. Okay, other ones so let me see if this it's like the yeah, this okay, so this one just barely gets over the mark. So we have Encyclopedia of Tolkien, the history and mythology that inspired Tolkien's world by David Day. Although I've heard mixed feelings on David Day's work on Tolkien. I still want to read it though. And this is such a pretty book. It's so pretty. Now I don't know if all his, because I've seen his other works on Tolkien's universe at Books A Million, but they're mass market format. This I actually got at BJ's. And the one actually, I think it's the one where my sister lives, not the one where my grandma lives, the one where my sister lives. We don't have a BJ's here though. I think we have a Costco, but not a BJ's. So this is his, just basically talking about Tolkien's world. I think what I heard about David Day is his information might not be the most accurate, but it is a pretty book. I did buy it, so I do want to read it. Plus, I have other probably more accurate stuff. And the one I recently got that you saw in my birthday haul, if you watched that video yet, the Complete Tolkien. So even if this one is inaccurately solved, that one. But this just barely gets over the because the page as far as reading, not counting the index, is 531 pages. So yeah, so it just barely gets over the 500. I mean, it gets over a little bit more than others, but it's still like... Okay, so I'm gonna read that. And you know what? I'm thinking about participating in Asians-a-thon in June. But what I might do is, like I said, well, I don't know. I might do it. But what I was thinking was I could do like a Lord of the Rings kind of thing, because that is it kind of has an ancient literature feel to it. Like, it's fantasy and it's not real, as far as we know. But, I think kind of, because in a way Tolkien created his own mythology and everything, so I thought it kind of fun to use that, as even though it's not actual ancient history, and this kind of is like ancient mythology. Let's see if this other, I mean, it doesn't look like it, but we will see the other Tolkien related book that I got. Okay, nope, so this one doesn't count. Yeah, it didn't look like it, so. But neither did the Encyclopedia of Tolkien. Let's see, does the Tolkien Companion count as a tome, as a big book? Yep, it does count. So this, let me see. So yes, the complete Tolkien Companion that I got does count, because it's in the 713 is the last. This might be the index. In the title on here, the title at the top might be like index in Elvish or something. One of the Elvish languages. But yeah, this is 713 pages. So yeah, this one counts. This is my Tolkien Companion. You saw this my birthday haul, but Terry gave it to me. And it's just, it's what it says. It's all the information on Tolkien's universe. Okay, so I know those probably don't count. Does this one count? Yeah, this I don't know why. I'm assuming. Okay, so let's see. Nope. Okay, so that doesn't count. Does the Silmarillion count? Silmarillion, does that count? Nope, doesn't count. Okay, so this is the only other Tolkien book that actually counts as a tome. And, let's see how many pages. It's probably in 1,000-page mark. Yep. So this is, so counting the index, it's, 1,178 pages if you count the index. If you count the appendices, the appendix, you have 1,138 pages if you count the appendices, which it does require some reading, which it does kind of include, it is part of the story, because it gives you information on characters and stuff like that you don't get that Tolkien could not include in the actual story, because it's just too much. So now the appendices are long. Oh, and here's the tree, the family tree. Okay, at least we're now on appendices A. Okay, Appendix A. Okay. Yeah, so a lot of the story is appendixes. Okay, so the last, as far as the original whole story, it's 1,031 pages. So look at how much. Like, that's that little part, that chunk there is all like appendices and index and glossary and stuff. So I'm kind of this is how it was supposed to be originally. This is how Tolkien originally wanted it published. So that's why a lot of Tolkien fans don't appreciate when people refer to it as a trilogy, because it was originally, he wanted it published like a one big story, but then his publishers and agents and stuff were like, that'd be too much for people, you know. So even people who didn't have TV and movies, they just had books for entertainment. They had books for entertainment in the theater, so this would be too much for them. And they each you had the Fellowship, the Two Towers, and Return of the King, and they published as in The Hobbit publishes individuals. Well, the Hobbit is not part of this. But the Fellowship, the Two Towers, and the Return of the King were published simultaneously, one right after the other, as separate stories. So a lot of people today refer to it as a trilogy because the movies were a trilogy, the books were published as a trilogy, but this was the original. This is close to the original that Tolkien wanted it published, was one big book. Let's do the one whose name I should know how to pronounce, but I don't. Noli Me Tangere. Let's see if that one meets the big books mark. Oh, nope, that's right, it doesn't. I forgot, I had already checked that once. I mean, I was hoping it would be in the 600 page, but no, it actually does not. This is only in the 400s. So, it's like halfway between 400 and 500. So, it's not there. So, that does not count. So, all these books, So, I know this definitely counts. This is Anne Rice's The Witchy Hour, the first book. And I do have book 2. I'll show that one to you because that one is, I think, a big book too. So this is about 900 and 965 pages. 965 pages. That's how long these books are. That first one, The Witching Hour. And then the sequel to it is... Oh, actually, the sequel, Lasher, is not as long. I don't know how long. Tantalus, that's the third and final book. But Lasher is only in the 500 pages. It's 500 and... 578 pages, so it's actually shorter than the first book. I don't know how long Tantalus is, but I don't have that one yet. Okay, so I'm gonna skip this next one. So I am in the middle of my reread of Akasha Kings, which is about so counting the index, there's 761 pages. That's all the index. Okay. And 728 pages of reading material. Okay. We have the third book, A Storm of Swords, which my copy of that one, Storm of Swords, is old and it doesn't have that green cover with the image in the middle of the, I think it's a helmet, a knight's helmet in the middle. This is kind of a more older version. This is like 90s or 80s fantasy. It's this one, and you can tell it's a library edition because it has a little withdrawn sticker. So obviously they probably the library decided not to keep it. It was originally from Antioch Community High School Library. Which I'm always wondering, because, I mean, not every book can be taken out of the library. I don't think every book that's taken out of the library has anything to do with it because, it's, it's been banned or something. I don't think every time a book is drawn from the library it's because of banning. I mean, then maybe that is true, but... So, this edition... So, the appendix ends at page... The appendix A ends at 973. So, the story itself ends on page 924. Now that's this edition. I don't know about that green one, the one with the green cover and the helmet, the knight's helmet on the cover. I don't know how many pages that one is, but this particular one is 924 pages. So I'm only showing you the ones that I have. I'm trying to stick to showing you the big books that I have not read. So far that is... Oh, which I guess I shouldn't have shown you Gardens of the Moon then. But, so far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, Feast of Crows. This is the 4th book in the Game of Thrones series. I don't have book 5 in this edition yet. Okay, that is... So the appendices end at 751 pages. So it looks like this book is probably in the 600 page mark. So this ends on... ...684 pages. Now there is a little, it does go on to page 685. A little note from George R. R. Martin himself. Because this book, from what I've heard, we're not with the main group of characters that we've spent most of our time with in books 1 through 3. And this one, like, he even acknowledges that in the beginning, that people were when they read this, they probably asked, "Where's Dany and where's Tyrion?" And like there's hardly any Jon Snow in this book. Which let me see. Oh wait, no. I want to know who are the main characters in. Okay, Jaime's in this book. And then there's some minor characters, it looks like, perspectives, which, yeah, I mean, I think sometimes authors do that. So, well, I'll look at that later, because right now I'm doing a different video. Okay, so there's that one. It's almost in the 700 page mark. So let's get the big boy, the biggest of them all that I have of this series. that is Fire and Blood, which is the House of the Dragon series is based on. And this has all the family trees. So this is 706 pages. So I feel like some of these I'm like probably panicking for no reason. It's just more like a big commitment, and oh my god, I have all these books to read, so I should get the ones that won't take me as much time. So those books are really long. So that's the 700 page mark. But I believe he's gonna write a sequel to that, that one is really cool because it's kind of like reading a textbook, which some people can sound boring, but for me, I think as a nerd, self-proclaimed nerd, I think that's kind of cool. And it's a textbook that I actually like the idea of reading. I think that's a cool thing, which that does give me... See, that's what I've been thinking, like, taking some of the fantasy books and kind of doing a, like, fantasy books like Lord of the Rings and, and Fire and Blood, and reading those for ancient. So, I mean, even that's not ancient literature, it's make-believe literature, it's fantasy. It kind of, those Tolkien and Martin create their own universes. They create their own mythology. So I think that'd be kind of fun to let the ancients a thon inspire me to read that kind of, that fantasy literature that I've been procrastinating because of its length, that kind of has its own mythology. See, that's the problem. I get all these ideas for what to read, and then I get overwhelmed myself. Okay, so this is one I'm still working my way through. It's Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and I am at the halfway point of this, and I believe this is in the 800 page marks. Oh, no, actually no. I thought it was in the 800, but no, it's the last page is 1006 pages. So I'm like halfway in this book. And it's actually not that hard to read, it's even, like, it's very similar to Austen and Dickens in its writing style, but not as, but because I'm used to reading those kinds of books now, their work, and plus the fact that it's fantasy really helps too. Because sometimes Dickens books, because they're kind of slow and it's the day-to-day life of the characters, so there's not always things that are exciting. There's things that are intriguing that are going on in Dickens books sometimes, but a lot of times, but not always, but it's not exciting like what you get with a fantasy book. So I think that's why it's easier for me to make progress in a book like this, in a fantasy book, than sometimes as much as I love Dickens. Because sometimes there are slow stuff. There are slow moments, and not everything is as exciting. So I need to pick that up this year. It's one of these things where I want to save. Like I think about saving the books for the season, and sometimes I'm like, oh no, I should pick it up because I need to finish it. Okay. Now this was kind of my. So this one I definitely know is I believe this one is the 800 or 900 page mark. So this is Chris from Leaf, I think his first name's Chris. Chris from Leaf by Leaf had talked about this book and this author, and the author's other book is JR, called JR. And I did start to read it. The story's a little bit not like, it's a coming of age, I feel like, about this guy's life. And sometimes it was a little bit of a challenge to read. Especially because of the writing style. So it's The Recognitions by William Gaddis. And, oh, so, yeah, it's in the 900s. The afterword ends at 945. This is some thoughts by William Gaddis himself. A lot of times, I think that's what all afterwords are, basically the author leaving you with a little note. You know, maybe talking about the inspiration and something of the work. So the last story to read is 953 pages. So, 933 pages. So it's, like, my biggest hurdle is thinking about the number of pages and thinking about how I should be reading. I have so many other books that I need to read, and I have and these will take more time. Okay. So another challenging book, big book that I need to read, let's see, what's my count? Is one that some part of me thinks I should give up on this one, but another part is determined and very stubborn. I don't understand why publishers add these extra pages. Blank pages. This is, where is it? So, yeah, this one is not as long compared to The Recognitions. It's only 783 pages. That's Ulysses by James Joyce. The intimidating factor of this one is the writing style. He changes it throughout. And sometimes some of the things he said just don't make any sense. And it's like, what the heck? What are we reading kind of scenario, I feel like. And a lot of times it's very rambly from what I've read so far. And there's a bit of a, the stream of consciousness feel to it. I mean, that's why I gave up on Virginia Woolf. I mean, I haven't entirely given up on Virginia Woolf. I might try her again one day. But, I mean, I did like one of Allie Smith's books, and she writes in stream of consciousness, but then after, I didn't really care about her work. But I have a very mixed relationship with stream of consciousness, and I am determined to read it. And he's also one of those authors that one of the things he was trying was doing the whole no quotes around dialogue, and that can be kind of confusing. It's like, okay, where's the, but yeah, it's really the writing style that I feel like is intimidating, and then how sometimes it just feels like nonsense or nothing makes sense when you read this. But, that's the frustrating part, is that some people talk about novels like Ulysses as they're so brilliant and masterful, but then other people read them and it's like, why is this considered brilliant? It doesn't make any sense. And it's just, a lot of people have just mixed feelings on that kind of work. Okay, then we have another big fantasy book, Priory of the Orange Tree. And last time I did get pretty far in it. This was one of those ones where I switched out the hardback for a paperback. And there are a lot of my Stephen King books are like that. They're hardbacks. And I debated about switching them out. So the acknowledgments ends on page 830. And actually it's funny because this is Jennifer Brooks, because I know she did a vlog where she was reading this and she said she feels like it's not as bad as we think as far as intimidation factor, and that the way they published the book, they just make it look more intimidating than it really is. The way it's physically done. Okay, that's the index. And really, it's not that hard to read. It's just, again, the length is what bothers me. So, okay, so this is about 804 pages. As far as reading material goes. 804. Okay, well, let's see if this next one, I'll check. Next one. Okay, yep, it just barely goes over. It's in the 500 pages. So 574 pages, and that is The Queens of Innis Lear. So I decided I wanted to read the play, King Lear, before I read the book. So, because this is something I got, because it did sound really interesting, even though I was not familiar with the play. I mean, I knew it was a play that Shakespeare wrote, but I never read the play. So finally, I bought the play and decided to read it. And it was also one of these things where, like, it's one that isn't as famous. I've talked about this before, that I want to try to read the Shakespeare plays that aren't as famous, aren't as popular, like Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet. Even the Scottish play. They're so talked about. So I want to read the ones that are barely talked about at all first, and then I'll get to the, because I have read Romeo and Juliet, and I've read Hamlet. I mean, I do want to reread both of them, but I want to wait before I do. So King Lear, I haven't heard a lot about. And so I read it, I enjoyed it, it's now one of my favorites, and now I want to read Queens of Innis Lear at some point. And I don't know if I'll wait until like September to read it. But it's, again, like I said, I talk about books that I think, I'm going to wait until a certain season, but then I'm like, but I should read them because they've been sitting there. I should pick them up. Okay, the next one is a nonfiction. Another one of my handful of nonfiction books. This is one of the first books I got when I moved here, so this is the one I feel the most guilty about. And this is the one where I feel like, I should pick up this one before I read any other nonfiction. Or at least any other biography, because I have read plenty of nonfiction, but I haven't finished this one. And that is the Walt Disney biography by Neil Gabler. I've read about this much, and it's really not that long, because a lot of the length stems from like the glossary and index and all that. Like the index. And the bibliography of all the sources Neil Gabler used. So that's the only reason why it seems so long, because really, I'm trying to find the last page. The book itself actually ends, and actually ends on page 633, so it's really not that long, because I have accomplished 500 plus page books. So look, the rest of this last chunk is just index, and bibliography. So it's really not that long. It's just, physically it looks. And sometimes with long books, long biographies, sometimes they can get tedious, even if you are very intrigued by the person that you're reading. I mean, why would I buy it otherwise, unless I was interested in the subject that the nonfiction work is about? But it's still can come off tedious, because it's not a story, it's just telling. I mean, in a way it is a story, because biographies and memoirs are telling about someone's life, so in a way it is a story, kind of a either coming of age or someone's life story, but it's a real person. So it just can be a bit, it can, but sometimes there are slow parts. Okay, so next we have the Vincent van Gogh biography, that I got at the Vincent Immersive Experience. And index. Bibliography. And then note on the sources. Acknowledgements. So that's funny. A lot of biographies, sometimes the only reason why it seems so long physically is because a small chunk of it is like the bibliography and the notes and the index. And this one has appendices. So sometimes the only reason the books have might look as long as they do is because just the extra stuff that make sure that they cite the sources and acknowledge the people who helped them write this book, where they got all their information. Okay, so I think, yeah, okay, so not looking at that, the last page is 868, the last reading text, unless I want to read the notes. If I wanted to read the notes and all the acknowledgments, oh, crap. That's the index. Bibliography, because I mean, I have all the respect in the world, and it's, you know, I know that it's important to list that to give credit where credit is due, but it's just basically a list of information on your sources, and the only way I would read that is if I was actually writing a paper on it, and I'm just reading these for fun, so I wouldn't read that. So if you count the last note on sources, I think there might be another note. A note on sources is 893 pages. So I guess I would read that, the notes on sources. Okay, let's see. Is the letter... That's probably not long. It's probably not long. Okay, and then we have an old nonfiction, like back in ancient times. The history is Herodotus. This is the first nonfiction, I believe. And we have all that stuff that I probably won't read. Which actually I'm curious. Let's see if this counts as a tome or not. It might just barely be considered tome, because like a lot of it is, this last little chunk is like the index and glossary. Well, I guess the index. I think the only reason when you have a glossary is if you're writing like a fiction work, a fantasy fiction work, then you gotta, or maybe historical fiction in another country, you might have a glossary, because I think that's the glossary is just definitions. Okay, that's for third reading. Okay, this is the questions, discussion questions. Okay, stuff that was inspired. Oh my god, yeah, so this might just barely get over. Yeah, this just barely gets over the line between tome and regular size paper, you know, non-tome. So this is 502 pages as far as the reading stuff that the stuff I would read. Because like I said, I don't read the appendix or the index or anything, because like the appendixes in the index are just listing the sources, giving credit to the people who helped write the book and where they got the information. So this just gets barely over the 400 page mark. Like it's like just past 499. Yeah, so this barely is considered tome, just barely. Okay, so next is let me see if this one would be considered a tome. Sorry, I love these Barnes & Noble editions with the color and everything. Each book is a different color. I always thought, I don't know, they're nothing special probably, but nothing special really. But I think I like how each one of them is a different color. So this one is not considered a tome. Okay. Let's see if that's one. Let me just check. Is this one a tome? Nope, that's not a tome. Let's see, is this a tome? Yep, it's a tome. Okay, so it's funny that something seems like a tome and then you look and the only reason it goes past 500 pages is because of all the citing of the sources, and sometimes if it's a fiction book, it probably has a glossary, or like or like biographies and all that. That's sometimes the only reason something's considered a tome, because it has index and glossary in it, and like basically all the place where, you know, basically citing all the sources and stuff. That's the only, oftentimes that's, oh crap. Dang it. It's not good. And I don't read that. I don't want those pages sticking together. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so not counting all the extra stuff like the notes and the citing of the sources that they got, you know, for this book, we have 636 pages for this one, and that's Ovid's Metamorphoses, which I kept getting this mixed up with Metamorphoses, the book, the novel by Kafka, where the guy turns into a cockroach. Because when we read that, I read that in high school, or like, actually no, I think I read it early in college, and I just didn't like it. I mean, I might like it better now, because a lot of times I'm prone to change my mind about some books. But yeah, I always get it mixed up with, when I first heard this title, I was getting it mixed up with that book, which I think that was called Metamorphoses. Or Metamorphosis. Or, I have to look it up. That's a great classic. Canterbury Tales, I guess, probably, I can't really count that one because it's a bunch of short stories. It's just affordable. Okay, so this one is, so, affordable. Okay, so this one is, I think, so not counting the acknowledgements, it's 649 pages. So this is a collection of the Divine Comedy and, the Vita, what is it? What's it called? The Vita Nueva. No, Vita Nova. Nueva. I'm pronouncing the Spanish equivalent. Which I think that was inspired by a lover that Dante had. I think her name was Beatrice. I think that's what Jennifer Brooks said her name was, Beatrice. I think the Vita Nova was inspired by her. Let me just double check the Canterbury Tales and see if... Nope. Okay, so that one does not count. Okay, so, let's see. Paradise Lost, let me see if that one counts. Doesn't look like it does, but I'll just double check. Yep, does not count. Paradise Lost does not count. Let's see if History of the Peloponnesian... I wish I used to know how to pronounce this guy's name, but the History of the Peloponnesian War. Let's see if this one counts. Yes, it looks like it. 603, I think. Wait. And oh my god, I wish you guys could smell it. It has that old book smell about it, like old, you know, that old paper smell. 60, no, actually it ends in 605. So it has that old paper smell of old books. Okay, so that's all that. Okay, so that is that shelf for all my big books that I have not read. Because I have more books on the shelf that I haven't read that are the big books than on any of the other shelves, I think. Almost all of them on here I have not read. So I will continue this. Like I said, I might not have the light this for the next shelf because I don't know if I can plug it in. I have a place to plug it in. So I'm going to use natural light. I'm going to use the light either from I might end up using the light for my room or natural light, I don't know. But we will see. So that is the first part, the shortest shelf. If you guys like this, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell notification if you want to know when I upload videos. You don't have to, obviously. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And you know, please leave a comment. Like, if you have, how many of your big books have remained unread on your shelf? I would love to know what those are. If you don't, you can, I don't know what emoji. People always say leave an emoji if you don't know what to say. But I don't know what emoji. Like, I guess, if you want to say something, leave an emoji if you don't have any comments. I mean, if you don't want to do anything, that's fine too. But I know a lot of people recommend, tell their subscribers if they want to make a comment and they don't know what to say, just leave an emoji. So if you want to leave me a comment, you can give me an emoji. So I will talk to y'all later. Alright, bye!